Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 13th monthly web workshop on Fluke Connect. Today's topic is how to create a basic acoustic report in Fluke Connect Desktop. I will show you how to select images, rearrange images, create a cover page, etc. My name is Chaun Carda. I am a Tier 3 Technical Support Engineer and the Fluke lead. So, before we begin, a few housekeeping items. The session today will be recorded. Phones will be muted. Feel free to type questions at any time. Please limit questions to the topic of the session, and questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. So our agenda, or the purpose of this session, is to show you how to create a basic acoustic report in Fluke Connect Desktop. But before we cover that, I will start by providing you with an overview of Fluke Connect itself. Then I will provide an overview of the Fluke Connect Desktop software. Next, I will discuss how to create a basic acoustic report in the Fluke Connect Desktop software. And finally, I will answer any questions during the questions and answer section. So our first section is a high-level overview of Fluke Connect. I just want to cover a few basic facts about Fluke Connect for anyone that may be new to the software. Fluke Connect works with over 80 different tools in 11 different categories, including digital multimeters, clamp meters, installation testers, vibration meters, scope meters, process meters, insulation testers, infrared cameras, power loggers, and power quality monitors. The easiest way to tell if a tool will work with the Fluke Connect software is if it has the letters FC in the model name. So the 376 FC clamp meter, 1664 FC installation tester, and the T3000 FC temperature module all would be Fluke Connect enabled. And the only exception is the Fluke Connect suite of thermal image cameras. The Fluke suite of thermal image cameras. Most of them do in fact work with Fluke Connect, but do not include the FC in the model name. And Fluke Connect is available in 73 countries. One other important note, Fluke Connect measurement software is 100% free. So please give it a try if you haven't already. So here's an overall flow of how the data is stored and moved through the various systems. Let's say in step number 1, you have an intermittent blower motor problem. So in step number 2, you grab your 376 FC clamp meter to diagnose the issue. You'll connect your clamp meter to the motor to help diagnose the problem, and the data from the Fluke Connect clamp meter will get passed to the Fluke Connect mobile app via a Bluetooth connection in step number 3. Then in step number 4, the Fluke Connect mobile app will upload the readings to the Fluke Connect cloud where they are permanently stored. Now, if the cell phone is out of range, the data will be stored on the phone until it reconnects to a cell signal or a Wi-Fi signal. And then finally, down here in step number 5, users can then access their Fluke Connect data in the cloud via any web-enabled device, such as a web browser, the mobile app, or our desktop software. So as I just noted at the end of the previous slide, the Fluke Connect software works in 3 different applications. The Fluke Connect mobile app, which is the key interface for capturing measurements from tools. The Fluke Connect web app, which is where you go to create assets and perform analysis. And then finally, the Fluke Connect desktop app, which is the key interface for downloading thermal images and creating thermal image reports, as well as basic acoustic reports, which we're covering today. The next thing that is important for you to know is that the Fluke Connect software comes in 3 different tiers. This is often one of the more confusing aspects of the Fluke Connect software, so here's just a quick overview. We'll start with the Fluke Connect measurements. This is the first tier, or the bottom tier, and this is available to all users for free. This tier enables users to capture measurements from their tools and save the data to the cloud, just like I explained in the previous slide. The second tier is Fluke Connect Assets. This is the middle tier, and it comes with a 1-year free trial subscription for users and is $250 per license per person after that trial year has expired. This tier includes all of the features available in the measurements tier, plus asset management, asset health tracking, and work order management. And then the last tier, or the top tier, is the Fluke Connect condition monitoring tier. The first year of the software subscription is included with the purchase of the sensor or hardware. And this tier will include all of the features available in the measurements tier and all of the features available in the assets tier, because this is the top tier, or the highest level of the software available. The next section is the Fluke Connect Desktop overview, where I will provide you with an overview of the Fluke Connect Desktop software. So what is Fluke Connect Desktop? Well, it's the area where you go to manage all of your thermal images as well as your acoustic images. You download your images from your thermal image camera or your industrial acoustic imager to the Fluke Connect Desktop software on your PC. That's this first step where you download. Second step is you can edit your thermal images or add notes to your acoustic images. And finally, you create reports, either thermal image reports or basic acoustic reports. So Fluke Connect Desktop features, or the 5 main areas of the software, are profile options, where you have information on your settings. You can perform software updates, you can obtain a version information, and you can provide feedback to the development team, the product management team. Second, we've got the Tools tab. This is where you go to connect your tool to the Fluke Connect Desktop software in order to download measurements or images from your tool to the desktop software. Next, we've got the Measurements tab. This is where you go to view and edit measurements or images. Next, we've got the Assets tab, which is where you go to create, view, and edit asset groups and assets. And finally, we have the Reports tab, which is where you go to create, view, and edit reports. We'll be spending most of our time today in the Reports tab. So I just mentioned that Fluke Connect is available in 3 different applications: the mobile app, the web app, and the desktop app. But of course today, since we're working on acoustic imaging and reports, we'll be focused exclusively on the Fluke Connect desktop app. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, a moment ago, I did explain that Fluke Connect software comes in 3 tiers, and the Fluke Connect desktop application works with 3 of those 3 tiers. It works with measurements, assets, and condition monitoring. And Fluke Connect Desktop is 100% free, so anyone can use it. So feel free to download the software and give it a try today. If you also happen to have the free 1-year trial of Fluke Connect Assets or have purchased a license, then you can also use the Asset tab available in the Fluke Connect Desktop application. So starting with the Fluke Connect desktop software, we're looking at the profile options. And in order to access the profile options, you click on this little profile icon here. If you click this icon with your left mouse button, you'll get this pop-up display. And this is how you can access your profile options. In the big yellow box next to the number 2, this is going to tell you exactly when your license will expire. So you can see that I am on a Fluke Connect Assets trial license, and I have 271 days remaining in my free trial before it expires. This is a frequently asked question we get: how long before my license expires? So keep in mind, whenever you go to the profile icon and click here, you can see whether it's a paid subscription for assets, a paid subscription for the condition monitoring software, or the free trial license that I have here. Next, we've got settings. Settings is next to number 3, and once we click on that, we can go to the desktop settings options, and I'll show you that in a moment. Before I do, I want to show you that you can also access the settings information from the gear icon. So if you want to do it within 1 click, you can click on the gear icon in the upper right-hand corner, and that will also take you to the settings information. So if we click on settings, we see this pop-up display here. It says desktop settings. The first piece of information we're looking at is the local file saving location. This long string right here is where your images are downloaded to when you plug your tool into your computer and download the acoustic images from the imager itself to your desktop software. At this time, you must accept the default file structure for the software to work properly. So you do not want to change this file location because the Fluke Connect Desktop software will not work properly if you do. So please just leave this as the default location. Next, we've got check for software updates. So you can determine how often your software will check for updated software automatically. So we've got options daily, weekly, monthly, or every time you log in. And if you just want to do it, whenever you want to do it, you can select check now, and then it'll initiate a download if there is a new update available. Temperature unit, number 3, next to the number 3 arrow. This is very important. This is the default temperature setting that will be used throughout the software, and you have 3 options to choose from: Fahrenheit, Celsius, and Kelvin. This is another frequently asked question we get at the Fluke Connect support team. Customers know that they need to set the default temperature unit on their infrared camera, but they don't know that they also need to set that parameter in their software. And desktop settings is exactly where you go to do that. Next, we've got synchronize next to the number 4. Synchronize will tell the software whether you want to sync the data or the edits and changes that you make to, say, your thermal images back to the Fluke Connect cloud. If this parameter is set to on, you will have your data synced. So if you edit a thermal image on your Fluke Connect Desktop software and it's in the FC Cloud folder, that change will get uploaded to the cloud and will be reflected in both the web app and the mobile app. If you set this to off, then your changes will not be synced. Last but not least, we've got the length unit. So we can set this to either metric or imperial. Most of the world is on metric. The United States uses imperial, so just keep that in mind. Once you've made your changes here, you can click the blue save button and they'll be saved into the software. Oh, the other thing I like to point out is password. So under settings still, we've moved from desktop settings to password. We get this question a lot as well. So if you click on password, you enter your current password. You can enter a new password, confirm your new password, and click save, just like most other software applications. But I want to point out that it's very important to know that this password, the password for your Fluke Connect desktop software, is the same password you use for your Fluke Connect mobile app and your Fluke Connect web app. So you create an account with a username and a password for Fluke Connect. That is your username and password across all applications, so mobile, web, and desktop. So if you change your password here, it will change your password for the mobile app and the web app. Now, we often get questions about difficulties logging in or signing into the Fluke Connect desktop software. So you want to be sure you're using an administrator level account. Whoever the user is must have admin level access to the computer in order to run the services needed for the software to work properly. That's another frequently asked question we get. So the next few options in the desktop software are check for updates. So if you click on this, it will automatically go out and look for any updated software. And if there is software updates available, it will download those software updates to your computer immediately. It will not install them. You will still need to double click the executable file to install them, but it does actually run the download. So beware, that's going to happen. If you click on Open Fluke Connect Web App, this will take you directly to the Fluke Connect website, so you don't have to remember the URL. You don't have to bookmark it. You can just use this option here, Open Fluke Connect Web App. About Fluke Connect is going to give you your version information, so which version of the Fluke Connect desktop software you're using. This is something that the tech support team will often ask you to provide if you're working with them and troubleshooting an issue. Give feedback is where you can go to provide, ideas on new features you want to have included in the product to our product development team. And last but not least, we have the sign out option. I point out the sign out option because there is an X in the upper right hand corner, and oftentimes people will just click the X and assume that that is signing them out of the software. It is not. It's just closing the window for the software. So if the tech support team says please sign out of the software and sign back in, please go to the profile icon and then click the sign out option. Okay. Moving on from the profile options to the first tab, which is the Tools tab. This is where you go to download images from your tool, like a thermal imager or an acoustic imager, to the desktop software. And you will see you've got 2 options on how to do this: wired connection or a wireless connection. Now for wired connection, you've got two choices there, so USB or Ethernet. And if you click on this little drop-down arrow, it will provide you with the instructions on how to use each one of the methods. So if you decide to use a wireless connection and a Wi-Fi hotspot connection, you can click this little down arrow and it'll tell you how to set that up. And the two most common ways to download images from a tool to the computer is the USB connection and the Wi-Fi hotspot. Now, in the case of an acoustic imager, you will be using the USB connection method. That is the only method supported at this time. So you'll want to start the Fluke Connect Desktop software on your computer, and then you'll want to turn off your acoustic imager. So turn off the II900 or the II910. Connect the imager to the PC with the USB-C cable that is provided with your imager. So when you buy the tool, you'll get the USB cable. Be sure to hang on to that. Then after you've connected your imager to the computer with the USB cable, you'll turn on the imager, and then you'll open up the Fluke Connect Desktop software on the PC. And if you click on the Tools tab at that point, you'll see a picture or an image of a Fluke acoustic imager. Excuse me. And then you can select to download all of the images or just some of the images. Now, it's important to note, let's say you select to download all of the images. The software will download all of the images from your camera to the desktop. And at the end of that download process, it's going to say, do you want to delete these images? What it's asking you is if you want to delete the images off of the tool itself, whether it's a thermal imager or an acoustic imager. And I would recommend that you say no or cancel at that point. You do not want to delete the images off of the camera because you want to verify that those images have been downloaded to the computer successfully before you do that. Otherwise, you may accidentally lose some of the work that you've done. Oh, and if you have some problems getting the tool to show up in the Fluke Connect Desktop software, it's a good idea to shut down some of your other software. So I know I, for example, have my email, Excel, PowerPoint. I have like 20 software applications running on my computer at any one time. And sometimes that'll cause an issue with the software detecting the tool. So if I shut down all of my other applications, log out of the Fluke Connect Desktop software and log back in, and then repeat the process of connecting my tool, that'll often resolve that issue and my tool will then be recognized. Worst case scenario, you may want to reboot your computer and then only open up Fluke Connect Desktop and plug in your tool to the computer to get it recognized. But that's another frequently asked question we get. So moving from the first tab to the second tab, which is the Measurements tab, here we're looking at, the other thing I want to point out is that once you click on the Measurements tab, you've got two options for views. This is the tile view option. So this is the one that we're looking at right now. And what you'll notice is that we get basically like a mini tile version of each one of the different types of images. We can filter these images based on type of image. So if I wanted to, I could say, I only want to see my acoustic images, or I only want to see my thermal images. So I can choose to filter. I can sort my images based on name, A to Z or Z to A. I can also sort based on date, newest to oldest or oldest to newest. And I can search for file by name. So if I have hundreds or thousands of files like some of our customers do, I can use the search box to find them. Now here you're going to notice that these are acoustic images because you can see the little sound image there in the circle. And this is a thermal image. So I'm not currently filtering any of my images right now. I'm just showing all of my images, but this is what the acoustic images will look like after they've been downloaded. So next, we're still on the Measurements tab, but now we've switched over. We're looking at the Explorer view. So this is the tile view and this is the Explorer view. So in the Explorer view, what you'll notice is that you can tell that these are thermal images just by their appearance. You can also tell that they're thermal images because they end in a .is2 extension. That's what the thermal images are. You'll notice that these, the Fluke fan icon, are your acoustic images. So all of your acoustic images, they don't have a thumbnail version of it. They just have the file name, and your acoustic images will end in a .as2 extension. So IS2 is thermal, AS2 is acoustic. And you can tell these are acoustic again because they have the Fluke fan icon. And also you can search for a file by name here as well. So if you double click back on the Measurement tab, if you double click on a thermal image, so let's say, so let's say I double clicked on a thermal image, one of my thermal images, I think it's this one. Yes, it launches the editor. So this is what the editor does on a thermal image. You've got 4 tabs: optimize, analyze, notes, and image info. And you can go in and make all different kinds of edits. You can change the palette, the saturation, the level and span, the blending, IR blending, information, etc. And once you've made those changes, you can save them. So this is for a thermal image. If you double click on an acoustic image, it's a little bit different. You'll see that you don't have any of the options that you have for thermal image because you are not able to edit this data. This is basically locked in information. So you've got image information. This is what was taken out at the site, the acoustic image itself. This is the file name. And then you've got, you can see that this type of capture, we'll talk about this in a minute, was a LeakQ capture. And you've got all the other information related to this sound image. The one thing you can do for editing on acoustic images is you can edit the notes or the photo notes. So here on this particular image, it's the 0302 image. We can see that we already have 2 notes currently entered. Notes are automatically date and time stamped by the user. So I was logged in as Riley Russell, my demo account, and this is the date and time stamp that this note was added to this particular image. And there's 2 different notes. Now, if I wanted to, I could add another new note about this, some observation or analysis that I've performed. I can also edit the existing notes, or I can delete the existing notes. Now, notes can be added, like I said, from the Fluke Connect Desktop software. They can also be added in the acoustic imager itself. So while you're out in the field or in the factory and you're taking these images, if something comes to mind, you can actually enter the note in the acoustic imager itself, and it will get saved back to the file. So the next tab is the Assets tab. And remember, this Assets tab is only going to be available if you're using the 1-year free trial of Assets, or if you've purchased Assets, or if you have a condition monitoring license. One of those 3 types of licenses will give you access to the Assets tab. So if you click on the Assets tab, you'll see over here off to the left, we've got our asset groups. Plant 1, Plant 2, Plant 3. Customers use all different types of grouping conventions. I just say come up with something that works for your company. A lot of customers will create asset groups by asset type. So they'll put like all of their motors in one group and all their fans in another group, and that's how they choose to organize their assets. Or you could do it by location, like this person has done, Plant 1, Plant 2, Plant 3. And in our case, we've selected Plant 1, so you can see that we're viewing Plant 1, and these are all of the assets that are currently in Plant 1: fan, front room boiler, back room boiler, etc. Now, if I wanted to, I could go in and double click on any one of these assets and edit them. I could also click edit to edit the asset, or I could use the plus sign to add new assets. So moving from the 3rd tab to the 4th tab, this is the Reports tab. And here you can see a list of all of your existing reports. You can sort them by title, by template used. So I've got basic thermal, basic building diagnostic, basic acoustic. There's 6 different templates available. You can sort by date, by user who modified them. And then we'll get into this in the live demo a little bit more, but under the actions area, you can access the edit, download, email, and delete options. Okay. So our last section focuses on how to create a basic acoustic report in the Fluke Connect Desktop software. And I will start by providing you with an overview of sonic industrial imaging from the 10,000 foot level. Very, very, very high overview. So what is sonic imaging? Sonic imaging is a picture representation of the sound type and intensity and where it's coming from. In this case, it's overlaying that data on top of an image from a regular camera, which gives the context of where the sound is coming from. And intensity is indicated by color. So the more intense the sound, the darker the color, and it's more red basically. So here you can see this is where the sound is coming from on this particular image. Same for this one, and same for this one. So how is sound created? Sound is produced when something vibrates. That in turn creates a pressure wave that propagates through the air. And we use something called sound site technology. That's what's used to create to identify leaks. Here you can see this is what our sonic imager looks like. And the acoustic imager has 64 microphones arranged in a specific array pattern that are used to detect that sound. These little tiny holes are each microphones. So if we click here, basically what our acoustic imager does is it uses those 64 microphones to detect the sound and identify where the sound is coming from and the intensity level from where that sound is coming from. So as the microphones receive the sound, a proprietary algorithm calculates the sound image, and that image is then superimposed on a visual image from a camera placed in the center of the imaging head. So the camera is right there in the center. It's like a little tiny hole right there. And as far as applications or where this can be used, generally it's good to think of this in 3 categories: compressor systems, pressurized gas systems, and pressurized steam. And indoor and outdoor leaks are possible to detect. So after the sound is detected, you can use one of 4 capture modes on the acoustic imager to save that data. The 4 capture modes are image, video, LeakQ, and PDQ. PDQ is only available on the II910 model. But be sure to select the right mode before you start, or you won't have the data you need when you want to create your report. So image mode captures the image with an overlapping sound image and saves the image as a .png file or a .jpeg file. Video mode captures a video of the scene with an overlapping sound image and saves it as an MP4 format. And the last 2 modes, the LeakQ mode and the PDQ mode, are considered capture analysis modes because they provide you with a wealth of data, a lot more information than the basic image or video mode. The LeakQ mode captures and analyzes leak data to determine the type of leak, whether it's quick disconnect, threaded coupling, hose, open-ended, etc., and estimates the size of the leak. The PDQ mode captures and stores partial discharge data to estimate the type of partial discharge: corona, surface tracking, arcing, and void. And the data includes information for later use to create pulse phase diagrams. So if you want to create a report that identifies the LeakQ information, so the type of leak and the size of the leak, to calculate how much this leak is costing you and your company, you want to be sure to use the leak mode. You don't want to use the image mode or the video mode for that. Be sure to use the leak mode because that's what's going to generate the information you want in your report. We had a call from a customer just yesterday, in fact, that had used the image mode and not the LeakQ mode, so he wasn't able to get the data that he wanted. So just be sure when you're selecting the capture mode of the 4 modes, you select the one you really want to use. There are also 2 different reporting tools available. So there's the Fluke Connect Desktop software, Fluke Connect Desktop, and Fluke Online Reporting Tool. The Fluke Connect Desktop software only works with the LeakQ mode reports, while the Fluke Online Reporting Tool works with both the LeakQ and the PDQ mode reports. Now, Fluke Connect Desktop is a local PC installed application, which means you need to download the software from the Fluke website to your computer and double click on the executable to install it. You do need administrator level permission to install this and run this software on your computer. One of the downsides of using Fluke Connect software is that there's no leak type selection. So you'll need to do that when you're using the acoustic imager. You'll need to point it at the type of leak and say, okay, this is a compressed air leak or this is a gas leak. You need to enter that information on the acoustic imager so that it can be shared in the reports when you're using Fluke Connect Desktop software. But the Fluke Connect Desktop software does offer customization of the reporting template. So you can create a cover page, you can select which types of data you want to show in the report, you can add notes to the report, like I mentioned earlier. So there's some advantages to Fluke Connect Desktop. The Fluke Online Reporting Tool, which enables you to do both LeakQ and PDQ mode reports, is web-based, so there's nothing to download, so that's can be good for some people. And the leak type selection for each capture is automatically detected in this type of software, so you don't have to worry about entering that. It's automatically on the system there. And the downside is that it's a standardized reporting template, so you can't configure or customize the cover page, that type of thing. You basically download your data, the system runs the web-based solution for the reporting tool, and then spits out some some information for you, some calculations. Now, the software for these types of these two types of reporting tools is available online at the Fluke website. So if you want the Fluke Connect Desktop software, you go to www.fluke.com/fcsetup. For the LeakQ reporting tool, you go to fluke.com/LeakQ reports. And for the PDQ mode reporting tool, it's fluke.com/PDQ reports. So it's important to note that today we are only covering the first option, Fluke Connect Desktop software. So I will be providing you with an overview of the Fluke Connect Desktop software and how to use it to create a basic acoustic image. So how to create a basic acoustic report in the Fluke Connect Desktop software. That's where we're at right now. I've logged into my Fluke Connect Desktop software and I've clicked on the Reports tab. And if I want to create a report, I simply go to the blue Create Report button. I click that, and that pops up the Select a Report Template option. Excuse me, there are 6 different report templates to choose from, but today we're focusing on the basic acoustic report. So I would click the basic acoustic report to highlight that option, and then click the Continue button. And that will take me to the select measurements to include. So the filter is disabled because for basic acoustic imaging, the only type of file that works is the .as2 file. So we've selected multiple images to include in our report. In order to select an image, you simply need to click the little checkbox next to the file name. So this image has been selected, this one has been selected, and so on. You can see I've selected 5 measurements total, and you have the ability to select up to 100 different measurements or images to include in your report. But you can go through individually and select each one of these. Once I've done that, I can click the Add Measurements button, the blue Add Measurements button at the bottom right here, to add these measurements to my report. So I click Add Measurements, and that takes me to the report editor. So there are 5 different sections in the report editor. The top bar here basically is your top bar. This is where you have you can save the report, and you have many different viewing and printing options. And I'll go over these in more detail when I get into the live software. Next, we've got what's called I call it the preview panel or the navigation pane. So right now I've clicked on the cover page. So the main area of the report screen is showing here on the cover page. If I scroll down and selected any one of these other pages, then that would appear here in the center, and I could go in and make changes in any area that's marked as blue. Those are the editable fields, editing fields. 3, this is, like I said, the main area of the report. So this is a preview of what it's going to look like. And when you see the blue field area, that means that's something that you can go in and make changes to. 4, over here in the upper right-hand corner, these are all of the acoustic images we've selected to include in our report. So on the previous screen, we selected 5 different images. These are the images that you see that we've selected. Now, in this area, I can reorder the images to any order I want. So maybe I want 305 to be my first image in the report. I would use the left mouse button to click and drag this particular image up to the beginning of the report. Or if I wanted, I could take maybe 308 and move it to the end of the report. You simply use the left mouse button to click and hold and drag, and that's how you can rearrange the images in your report to be the order that you want. And then last but not least, number 5, the field list area. This is where you can configure your report. You select which pieces of information on each acoustic image you want to include in your report. So first, we'll start with the cover page. And there's basically 3 areas to the cover page. In the top left-hand corner, you can include a logo. This can be any company logo, or if you're doing a report for one of your customers, it can be maybe their company logo. The report date defaults to the current day's date, but you can change this to whatever you want. You can also edit the author, so you could put in your company name or your name specifically. And then in the summary section, you can enter text here to summarize the results of your report. You could say something like, this is the monthly inspection report for the Boeing 747 plant. Our testing results show minimal leaks on the equipment at this time. So just what you did, where you did it, and what your results were. So next, as I said a moment ago, this is where you would go. This part of the page is where you go to rearrange your images. I'll show that in the live software, but you simply just click and drag up to move it earlier in the report, or drag down to move it later in the report. That's a frequently asked question we get in the support department, and I understand why, because it's not very intuitive to know that this is something that you could just click and move around. It doesn't really feel like an option there. So next, how to configure the measurement info in your report. So you'll notice if we click on this little drop-down arrow box next to the measurement info, we get a pop-out of 28 different fields of information that we can show in our report. And what you'll notice is that if you look at the items that have checks next to them, those are also the items that appear here in the report. So name, type of capture, minimum decibel, minimum, max, and so on and so forth. So all the items that we have checked here appear in the report. Now you'll notice that because this person did not select what type of leak and what type of gas and enter that information in the acoustic imager, those two fields are blank in our report. So if you're going to use our reporting software, the Fluke Connect Desktop reporting software, as opposed to the online tool, you'll want to make sure you enter this information on the acoustic imager when you're out in the field taking the image, so that those two fields get populated. But here, maybe because we didn't do that this time, we don't want to have those two blank fields there. So we might want to go in and deselect gas type and leak type since they're just empty. So we could deselect those. Maybe our audience isn't that technical, so they might not know what minimum decibel, maximum decibel are. So we might also want to deselect those. You can choose what information you want to display to your audience depending upon who they are. If it's something that's going to someone who's not technical, maybe a manager, they don't need a lot of the technical information. But the other thing I like to point out too, if you enter notes using your acoustic imager, or you enter notes using the Fluke Connect Desktop software on an image, like something about, we need to monitor this leak, or this is a very costly leak, something like that, and you want those to appear in the report itself, this is the field that you need to check if you check notes. You can also choose to add photo notes if you'd like. Those are both options. But this is another frequently asked question we get. How do I add the notes that I added using the acoustic imager or the Fluke Connect Desktop software to my report? It's simply, you click the drop-down list box and then check the notes box. It's that simple. Next, we've got the LealkQ calculator information. So we've only got two options here, the LealkQ Summary and the LealkQ Details. And right now, you can see that the LealkQ Details information, over here in the previews, you can see that that's on every single one of our acoustic images. Any one of the images that are categorized using the LealkQ capture mode will have the LealkQ details. So the estimated leak rate and the estimated leak cost. Now, the operating conditions are what determine what this information is. And right now our operating conditions are set to euros and metric system. So that's what this is displayed in, but we can go in and change that in a minute. So LealkQ details, if we uncheck this whole section will disappear from every one of our acoustic images. So we probably want to leave that on there. Next, we've got the LealkQ Summary. That's going to be the third page of your report, the leak summary, and that shows you each one of your acoustic images. These are the file names for the acoustic image. It gives you your LealkQ rating for each one of those issues or images, the LealkQ rate, and the LealkQ cost. Okay, and I mentioned a moment ago operating conditions. On the very top part of the toolbar, if you click on operating conditions are going to be the second page of the report. And this is the default information, metric, euros, gas type they set to air, pressure is measured in I don't know if it's BAR or bar. It's different over there than it is here in the United States, but you can enter the cost of gas, cost of electricity, etc. Now we got some information from the acoustic imaging team, and they gave us some default data that we could use for operating conditions, so the numbers don't come up to be 0 when you create your report initially, but you can edit any one of these parameters. So you can change the unit system, say, from metric to imperial if you're working in the United States, the currency from euros to dollars, the gas type from air to argon, helium, whatever the gas type is. And you can enter in data for cost of gas, cost of electricity, etc., so that your calculations are accurate to the minute for the current cost that you're paying for gas and electricity. Operating hours per year is how many hours the machine that you're evaluating operates. So if your machinery runs 24/7, which a lot of our customers do, the total number in hours for a year would be 8,760. So go ahead and make your changes in operating conditions and then click click apply, and then all of the numbers in the report will be recalculated based on the information you enter here. So once we're done with our report, we've entered in all of our information, we want to save that report. In the upper left-hand corner, you've got the save icon. You click on that, you enter the name of the report. I would recommend coming up with a consistent naming convention like month, year, and then monthly basic acoustic, the type of report or something, whatever works for you and your company, and then click the save button. And once you do that, the report now has been saved. You can see this is the name of the report that I gave it, February 2021 Monthly Basic Acoustic Report. At this point, if I wanted to, I could export this report as a PDF file or as a .docs file. So maybe you want to send it to a client, you don't want them to edit it or make any changes, so you send it as a PDF. Or maybe you want to add some additional data, merge some data from another system, part of your analysis of your maintenance route. So you want to create the file as a .docs file. That puts it into the Word format so that once it's in Word, you can open the file as a Word file and edit the file as you would any other Word document. Okay, so now let's go in and use the live software to create a report. We're going to apply what we've just learned in the Fluke Connect Desktop software to actually create a report. So this is the Fluke Connect Desktop software. We'll start here on the Tools tab because, as I mentioned, this is where you go to connect your II900 or your II910 to the Fluke Connect Desktop software. You'll use the USB cable to plug in your tool to your desktop or your computer, and then the tool will get recognized, and you'll choose whether you want to download all of the images or just selected images from the tool to your computer. The first thing we'll want to do is click on the Reports tab because we are going to be creating a report. So if I click on the Reports tab, here I can see all of the titles for all of my reports, the different templates that I've used, acoustic, thermal, when the reports were last modified, who modified them, etc. Now what I did want to show you is right now there's no rhyme or reason to the order. So if I click on the title, I can sort alphabetically. So April, February, and January, descending or ascending. I can sort based on template used, so I can get all of my thermal reports together, all of my acoustic reports together, sort by date, ascending or descending. So I've got the most current reports at the top now. Over here, the other thing I can do is I can search for reports. So maybe I want to see all of my January reports. So I type in the word January and hit the search option, and now it quickly takes me to all of my January reports. I want to delete that and go back to showing everything. The other thing I can do over here in the Actions drop-down list box is I can edit my report. So if I click on Edit, maybe I was in the middle of working on my report and I needed to run off to a meeting. So I wanted to save my work so that I could come back to it at a later time and update that information. So I could go in right here and start typing to, and that is one good thing. It does have spell check. So if I spelled something wrong here, I could say left mouse click and fix that. But I could go in and continue working on my report and editing my report if I wanted to. We're going to go ahead and click close. We do not want to save our changes. We can download our report. So I can choose to download my report as a PDF file or as a .docs file, either one. I can change the name of my report if I want to, maybe I've updated it so it's revision 2 or revision 3. And I can choose the location of where that folder downloads to. So this is the location of where that file is stored on my PC. We'll click cancel there. I can email the report. If a customer says, hey, I'd like another copy of that, or I lost my copy, I can just click email. This will launch your default email software, and then you can type in, whoever you want to send it to. So whatever person you want to send it to. It automatically attaches the report as a PDF file in this particular case. You can change the subject, etc. And last but not least, we can delete. So if we've been in the system and we've been practicing a whole bunch and creating a bunch of sample reports, we could go in and delete those reports if we wanted to. Okay, So now we actually know we want to create a new report. So we're on the Reports tab. We go to the blue Create Report button, just like I showed you in the slides. You'll see 6 different options for report templates that you can choose from: basic acoustic, basic non-thermal, etc. These are all the different types. In our case, we're going to choose basic acoustic because we're working with acoustic imagers. We click Continue. And the system automatically presents us with the Select Measurements to Include screen. So because we're choosing a basic acoustic report, it only is going to show us the acoustic images. We don't see any other types of measurements, no thermal images, just acoustic images that we've shown. So I mentioned we would be able to use filter if we were in a multi-dimensional type report, but we're just using acoustic, so there's no option there. But we can sort on newest to oldest, oldest to newest, A to Z or Z to A. We can go in and select which images we want to include. What's great about this is that let's say I ran my route on February 24th, just like this customer did. He was kind enough to share his images with me, so I have real life images from the factory. Maybe I want to include all of these images. I know that all of these are from the route I ran that day. Instead of individually selecting each image, I can click this checkbox here, and voila, all of the images from February 24th are automatically selected. Now maybe I want to scroll down and select additional measurements. Maybe I want to select this one called default 002. I can add that one, and then we'll leave these other ones. What the system does as well is it automatically counts how many measurements you've included. So I've included 9 acoustic images or 9 measurements for my report. So that's how many I have. So I want to add these to my report. So I click on the blue Add Measurements button. And that takes me to my report editor. And remember, we've got save and view options across the top. So we can save it, print it, quick print, scale. I'll come back to scale in a moment. Navigation pane is, actually, let me do this. So we've got, I'll come back and do this in more detail in a moment. So we've got printing and viewing options across the top. Over here's, again, remember, our navigation pane. So we can see a preview of each one of the pages if I want to go there. So I really love this because then I can jump ahead to different pages in the report quite quickly without using the scroll option. And the main area of the screen is where you can go in and make changes, like you can edit things, add text, etc. And up at the upper right hand corner, you can rearrange your images here. And then down here on the bottom, remember, this is where you can configure the report to add and remove different information. So let's go back up here to the top and do this in more detail. We'll come back to scale in a moment. Navigation pane. So this is the navigation pane. If you do not want to use this, you want to zoom in on the report page itself, you can simply, this is a toggle it off, toggle it on. Like I said, love having this, so I leave it on. Editing fields, right now, everything that you can edit is in blue. So anything that's a blue field, you can make a change to. I can select a date, or I can actually just type in a date, however you want to do it. But if you don't want the fields to be highlighted in blue, you can simply turn that off. So now they're not there anymore. I, again, like to have those on so I know where I can go in and make changes. I can add watermarks if I want to my report. I can add a text watermark or a picture watermark, either one of those. If I'm in here and I make some sort of horrible mistake, I can just do clear all and start over again. Page layout, that simply is how I want to view it. Single, 2-page, wrap page. Enable continuous scrolling. That's if I want to be able to scroll through the report this way. I do like to be able to do that, so I leave that turned on. And then I can zoom in or out. I'll come back to operating conditions in a bit here. So we'll start with how to create a cover page. So right now we click on the cover page, and remember I said that if you wanted to change the logo, you can simply double click on this to highlight the area that you want to work on. I click on my folder. This takes me to a folder on my computer. I happen to have all my logos in my picture folder, but you can put them anywhere you want. You can search for them on your computer, and I can use any one of these different logos. So let's say I choose this one, the Fluke Connect logo. So I want to add that. So That looks okay, but it looks a little strange, maybe like it's stretched. So I click here and I can look, and sure enough, the image has been stretched. So I don't actually want to, oh, let's go back here. I don't actually want to use the stretch option because that looks weird. So let's just use the normal version there. And alignment is where the logo is placed inside the box. So right now it's in the top left corner. Maybe I want to center it. So it puts it into the center of the box. Now I can undo or reset, or I can delete if I decide to make any changes there. So, so that's my new logo I've chosen. I want to go here and select that. Maybe I do all of my reports on the 15th of every month. So I put that in here. And author, that's our division, Fluke Liability, but maybe I want to put in my name as the author. I'm the one who's creating the report. And down here in the summary section, this is where you type in the information about, what your findings are. So, just what you did. It was an inspection report, when it happened, May 2021, what the report contains, acoustic images, and then maybe what your findings were. Something like that. What's great about this is, as I pointed out, you can go in and edit this. So if you show this to your manager and he wants to have changes made, you could go back into the software and edit the report cover page to make the changes that he wants to make. So next, we're going to talk about rearranging our images. So right now, you can see that these are each one of the different images in our report. And if I wanted to, maybe I want to go in and, let's see, I want to move, maybe I want to move this one to the very top of the report. So I use my left mouse button to click and select it, and then I drag it up to move it to a different location in the report. So I can keep moving it up so it moves all the way up to the top of the report maybe. So there we go. So I've moved this from the very middle or end of the report to the very top of the report. Maybe I want to delete one of my images. So let's say I want to delete, that one is 306. So maybe 306 is probably not one I want to have included in my report. So I click on the three little dots here and I click remove. And now 306 is gone from our report. If I want to add new images, I click here, the blue edit icon, and that will take me back to the select measurement screen. And you'll see that 306 was the one I deleted, so it's no longer selected because I deleted it from my report. Maybe I want to go down and include the one that's called Production 001, so I click that one, I click Update. And now if we scroll through, we can see that Production 001 has been added to our report. It's just that easy. It's very, very easy to configure. So next, let's go down here and we'll look at the field list. So this is the configuration part of the report. As I said, if we click on the drop-down arrow here, you'll see all of the measurement data in the report itself. And this lines up with what you see over here. So we've got name, type of capture, minimum decibels, maximum decibels, etc. PD count is something that's currently not supported. It's for the PDQ type mode, and we aren't supporting that just yet. But so here we've got all these other pieces of information, and there are additional like ambient temperature, discharge type, relative humidity. Those are also part of the PDQ type, which is not yet supported. But as I pointed out earlier in the slides, maybe our audience isn't that technical, so they don't know what minimum decibel or maximum decibel is. So we might want to remove that from the report. So if I just deselect those checkboxes, then I'll be able to see that now those are no longer included in our image information section, right? So it's shorter, it's more concise. I also said because I didn't select gas type and leak type, I might want to take those out as well. But well, oh, and the other thing I wanted to do is add notes. Remember, that's one of those things that everybody always wants to do. So if I click on the notes option, you'll notice that, let's go back here. Let's see if we can find the file. Nope, that's not it. Sorry about this, guys. Trying to find it. There we go. So this particular file has notes. So you'll see that it's no longer includes the minimum decibel or the maximum decibel, but because I did add notes and this particular image has notes associated with it, you'll see that the notes are included. So if this did not have any notes, then there would be no notes included. Now, this is another frequently asked question. So everybody's like, well, you know, it's rolling to the next page and I really want all of the information about the one image on the one page. That's where the scale comes in. So if I wanted to, right now it's set to 100%, but maybe if I change it to make it a little bit smaller, now I got one of the notes on there, so maybe I need to make it a little bit smaller than that. And now, there we go. So now using the scale option, now it shrinks everything down on the page in order to fit all of the information on there. So I've got the acoustic image, I've got the image information here, I've got my LeakQ information, and I've got the notes. It all fits on one page. Now the other way to do that obviously is to delete some of these other fields as well. You can do that as well. So we'll go. Next thing I want to talk about is the LeakQ calculator. So this is one other piece of information you can configure. You'll see that the LeakQ data is available on every image individually. So we've got LeakQ details on this particular image that we're looking at, and the next one down, we've also got LeakQ details on that one. So this is information that appears on every single image itself. The LeakQ Summary that's actually data that's on the third page of the report. And what it does is it takes the file names for every single one of the leaks that you found. It assigns the LeakQ rating, gives the LeakQ rate, and the estimated cost. Now, again, you can see that this information is calculated based on the default data in the system that was provided by our acoustic imaging team. But this is information that you can configure simply by clicking on operating conditions. So if I click on operating conditions, you'll see that right now everything's in euros and it's metric. So maybe I want to switch this out to imperial. So I switch that out to imperial. The defaults change, so the currency goes from euros to dollars. I can set whatever type of gas I want, air, helium, etc. The pressure is switched from bar to PSI because that's how we calculate it here in the United States. I could enter in the cost of gas in US dollars, the cost of electricity, etc. Anything I want to change, I can change here. And then once I've selected my data and entered my parameters, I click apply. We go back to the third page here. And you'll see that the leak rate has changed to a US measurement and the costs are now in US dollars. So we found this is what our current leak rate total would be based off our inspection, and this is how much it would be costing us a year. Okay, so we've gone in, we've created our cover page, we've rearranged our images, deleted some, added some others. We've configured our report so that we selected the fields of information we want to display, and the fields that we've selected here will display for every single one of the measurements. So it'll display, this is one measurement. You'll see that the dB levels are gone here, decibel levels are gone here. So it applies, these changes apply to every single one of the images in the report. So now all we need to do is save our report. So we click the upper left-hand icon here called Save. We can name our report. And then click the Save button. And now you can see that the report has been named May 2021 Monthly Basic Acoustic Report. At this point, we can export it as a PDF or .docs file if we wanted to. Oops, sorry, that's how it would look if you wanted to do that. And that takes us to our next slide. So we just covered a Fluke Connect overview, Fluke Connect Desktop overview, and how to create a basic acoustic report in Fluke Connect Desktop. So now that you've seen all that information, if you need more information or you want additional information on Fluke Connect, you can go to the Fluke Connect website, which is this long string here, or you can go to fluke.com/products and search for Fluke Connect. If you want to see additional videos or workshop videos on different Fluke Connect options, you can go to fluke.com/quickstart and select the Fluke Connect handheld tools option. There's a tile on the page for that. If you're interested in learning more about an acoustic imager, the II900 or the II910, you can call our sales department. Here's the phone number and the email address for them. If you already have an acoustic imager or any one of the other Fluke Connect enabled tools and you need support, you can talk to our support team. The phone number for them is 425-200-0080 or email us at flukeconnectsupport@fluke.com. If you're interested in more information on acoustic imagers, please go to the fluke.com website and enter the word acoustic imager in the search bar, or enter the model number II900 or II910. There's a lot of different information out there. There's user manuals, there's including instructions on how to create reports that give you kind of the high level steps of what to do to create a report, tons of articles, white papers, case studies, videos, and you can even register for an upcoming webinar. There's one later today at 10 a.m. Pacific, in fact, in a couple of hours. There's also an ROI calculator, so you can enter some of your own numbers like cost of gas, etc., to calculate potential savings you might obtain by purchasing an acoustic imager. One of our customers that we work with saved over $48,000. So that in itself will buy you a couple of acoustic imagers in cost savings. So that concludes the presentation portion of our 13th Fluke Connect workshop. In the next day or two, you will all be receiving an email thanking you for attending. It will include a link to the recording of this presentation and a link to register for the next Fluke Connect workshop. Also, at the conclusion of this session, you will be asked to provide feedback on the presentation in a short survey. So please take a moment to do so. We do read all of the comments and we do appreciate your feedback. I will be taking questions now. As a reminder, please keep questions to the topic we just covered. And if you have any additional questions, you can contact our support team at 425-200-0080 or email us at flukeconnectsupport@fluke.com. So let me go ahead and go to the I'm going to take a moment here to stop the recording, and then I'll be fielding questions.